Hello and welcome to another evening here on Box Score Network YouTube channel. I'm Simon Short. Joining me this week is Kev Nivek. Kev, welcome in, man. How you doing?
I'm great, Simon. It's always a good time to talk with you and hang out. Luckily, there's nothing this week that I'll have to look back on. I guess I shouldn't say that, but I'm still licking my wounds from our preseason draft. But I'm always excited to talk with you, sir. And it's some good news for Colts fans this time. If like normally I'm always doom and gloom, and maybe some of that will still seep in, but I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
I distinctly remember the last Colts AFC South centric episode that we did was you, me, and James. I think during a draft war room series, and I believe that was also around the time L'Jarius Sneed ended up on the Titans instead of the Colts, and you were down bad. And full circle, you can take that karma to the bank because we are here specifically to react to the biggest and I truly believe most pivotal move of the NFL trade deadline, which wrapped up at 4 p.m. Eastern on Tuesday the 4th. It is 10 p.m. Eastern as we record this, and that is your Indianapolis Colts have acquired the two-time All-Pro, former fourth overall pick and defensive rookie of the year, cornerback Sauce Gardner for your 2026 first, your 2027 first, and wide receiver, former second round pick Adonai Mitchell. Um, Kev, as the 7-2 team in the NFL, still the best offense in the NFL. I believe best record in the league at this point, most wins in the league at this point. Maybe the Rams are up there too. I can't remember now. Acquiring a player of this stature, because here at trade it was a great trade deadline. I'll have a full recap of that on the Simon and Friends podcast going up Thursday. Um, but this is the best team and getting the best player at the trade deadline. As a fan, what was your instant react when that tweet came across your phone this afternoon? What was your instant reaction?
It was a mixed emotion situation for me, Simon, because at first you just see the headline, right? Sauce
Hmm.
Gardner to the Colts, pure joy,
Hmm.
euphoria. Wow, this is crazy. This is not the type of stuff that this front office is usually known for. I think
Mm-mm.
the last blockbuster trade I can think of the Colts doing was DeForest Buckner, probably was
Yep.
like the last trade
Yeah.
of this caliber. So you're thinking, okay, well, they're in that great position. Like you
Hmm.
said, towards the top of the league, getting an incredible player at a spot that is very needed. And
Hmm.
so I'm very excited in the first minute. And then as the details roll in and you look at the price point, I think a lot of people had the same reaction where they're thinking, what happened behind the scenes? Why are the Jets, with
Yeah.
Aaron Glenn as their head coach, why are they trading Sauce Gardner, who they just gave $120 million to in the offseason? What's wrong with him, right?
Right. Hmm.
And then you hear, oh, it's two firsts and
Hmm.
a former second round pick wide receiver, another huge need for the Jets. And you think, okay, well then
Yes.
that's why they traded him. So it went from, wow, this is peak Colts fanhood right here. You don't get moments like this every day to, oh boy, we just mortgaged a lot of the future on this. And that's where it started to muddy the waters for me, where I loved it and then I kind of didn't like it. And then for the rest of the evening, I've been talking myself back into it, Simon. I do think overall it's a good move if it works for them. I understand why they are taking a swing. I might not love the price that was sent back in return, but I
Right.
think this is the kind of move you have to make if you're serious about this run. And Colts fans, I don't have to tell them. Uh, no, none of us expected to be here right now. So, the old saying, you strike while the iron's hot.
Yep.
Overall, I'm still feeling happy about it, but there's going to be a part of me, if the next 2 years don't go the way we want, that's going to be a little frustrated with what we gave up. So a weird series of events, but you can't get somebody that good without giving something back. I just wonder, when you see those two first round picks, you're like, in this economy, okay, yeah, all right.
You know, the Micah Parsons trade to, highlight also Dallas and the Jets and the following move the Jets made a little bit. I guess sets the bar, right? Sets the market for like a premier star defensive player. It's going to be two first round picks, and it's going to be like a flyer on a player that you're kind of interested in. We're kind of getting to, I think, shout out to Peyton Avila, a box score. He said this from a different point of view, but like we see this in the NBA a lot, right? Like we want picks and we want young players, or in Cowboys' case, we want picks and we want old players, but this is what the market is going to be. So when I do wonder though, I mean, we knew the Jets were looking to offload some players, like Jermaine Johnson was brought up, Will McDonald was brought up, a lot of the defensive players, a lot of the defensive front were brought up. Brees Hall was obviously brought up. So I don't know if it was a sense of like the Colts just were calling. Maybe they were in on Michael Carter before he got traded to the Eagles. And then when that didn't work, the Jets came back and were like, hey, we might be interested in this for the premium price. I agree. I can't even dream of getting inside the minds of the New York Jets and Woody Johnson and figuring out why they would do this. But what I know is that the Colts paid a premium price, yes, but they got a premium player to do it. So what I want to zero in on for you here for a second is specifically for Sauce. Obviously he's a cornerback. Obviously he's going to be playing on the outside. But in terms of what Colts fans maybe in the back of their minds over the course of this season so far were thinking, where can this still go wrong for us this season? What is he for the Colts right now? Like, is this like a shut like we're like, oh, we can now shut down I mean, who's the best AFC wide receiver they're gonna see? I mean, this is not gonna be Jamar Chase, T. Higgins, but that caliber, like, okay, we got a guy to stop the number one wide receiver opposite us. Or is this a okay, we've got like we overpaid, but this is a because it's a young guy they're building for the future and they've never gotten the cornerback. What does he do for the team right now that's gonna help them pretty much immediately on this run? What does he do for them?
Yeah, he shores up a big weakness that has been brought about not in no small part because of the injuries. Like the over the past few years, the Colts just can't seem to stay healthy at that position, and even the good players they've had have been good, but maybe not quite two-time All-Pro good.
Right.
So there's going to be a big help there. I think that's what will be interesting about it because I think with the scheme, you hear the defensive coordinator, Sweet Lou referred to as this mad scientist. You get to see some of it, and I think it's the type of move where if you do have that guy that you can put on an island that you can say, okay, for this particular play, that side of the field is locked down. I think they can get a lot more creative with the stuff that they want to do pre-snap to confuse opposing quarterbacks. And when you have what I can't believe I'm even saying this still, it's still not all of this has sunk in, but when you have one of the most efficient, one of the best offenses in the league right now, I think you've got to do something to shore up the defense. So yeah, I part of me thinks like maybe it was a bit of a reach that's been the real question, Simon, that's been burning in me. Like, is this enough to get the Colts beyond where they were already set to go? And it's just a weird position because I felt like they were playing with house money coming into this year, no expectations, even from
Hmm.
their own fan base. And then now all of a sudden we're in win now mode. And does that cause you to maybe overreact a little bit and give up more than what will be worth it in the long run? But I was shocked to hear certain metrics or people that do the odds for this type of thing have the Colts as I think it was like 11% chance to win the Super Bowl, which is crazy.
Yeah.
So I think it legitimizes that defense. There because there are other issues. Zaire Franklin has not played. He's not played as well as he has in the
Hmm.
past. And so I do think maybe it just gives them an opportunity to try some different looks, do different things. And there wasn't much they could do to improve offensively. They've got a lot of other positions kind of locked down. So hopefully, knock on wood over here, barring any additional injuries, this could finally go from being one of, if not the weakest spot on the roster to potentially being a strength. So, but I think that's really the question that guys like me, at least, that haven't made up their mind yet, have is the same one you just brought up. So like, what is this going to do in the long run? Like in baseball, we have this wonderful stat, the WAR stat, right? You know, you got your
Mm-hmm.
wins above
Mm-hmm.
replacement. What's that
Mm-hmm.
going to translate to with a guy like Sauce? Because that could, I mean, if you're really shutting down the best player on the other side of the field, how many possessions is that giving it back to your
Right.
offense and Jonathan Taylor as well?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, does a couple of third downs that would have been converted, now it's back in your hands and you get to run your offense. I think they could win a couple more games this season because of this, and that's sort of the best way that I can think of it right now. And I want to say this was not my original thought. This got brought up while I was doing my research for this, but didn't the Commanders do something similar and were able to make a pretty deep playoff run off of a similar situation? So we've seen it happen before. Um, whew, it's a tough one. I'm in a glass case of emotion here, Simon.
You partly got to my next one, which is just like, does this make them more capable? Like, does this put them in a different tier for you? When on the Simon and Friends podcast, when I do my power rankings with Josh, the Colts got into our top 10 this last month, but still kind of just on the outside of like what we consider the inner circle of Super Bowl contenders. Would you say adding Sauce Gardner pushes the Colts into that? Because to highlight real quick the injuries that you mentioned, they've tried to solidify that corner spot with young guys and old guys in the past, and everybody got hurt. Juju Brents was never healthy when they drafted him. Justin Whaley was a draft pick this year that people were excited about. Even Charvarius Ward, who I gave big ups to the Colts for going to get, he hasn't played in a month. So you're playing Mekhi Blackman, and then just like a hodgepodge, Jalen Jones, and just a bunch of other guys kind of. Oh, so not only are you getting a superstar player, you're just getting one guy who's actually been like a steady starting corner just to be consistent, let alone what the ceiling is. But does adding him in really push them into a new tier, do you think? Or does this just kind of like help make them a little bit more even for where they kind of already were in your mind?
As much as I would love to pound the desk and say that, you know, this makes the Colts elite. They are the team to beat in the NFL now. I think it's for me personally closer to the latter, what you said, as far as this is solidifying their place as someone in that, I guess, top third of the league, somebody who's flirting with that elite circle. Because and maybe I am just jaded. You know, maybe it's been a long time since Andrew Luck walked out of that hallway, and
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how to feel joy for this team without there being a little voice in the back of my head saying, "Yeah, don't get too excited now." Um, but I think that I remain unconvinced that this did enough to push them to the very top. I really feel for the position that they were in, both what Colts fans have been calling the big three now, and then as far as Ballard himself, like it's a tough spot to win. Or it's a tough spot to be in when you want to win, and all of a sudden this window has opened for you. So I absolutely can understand them going for a big move like this,
Hmm.
but this might be one that I don't know that it really converts to saying, okay, well, now we are the team to beat in the NFL. And I haven't really heard anybody say that. I've heard a lot of people say that the Colts got fleeced for 2 first round picks. I've heard a lot of people say those picks, if we're lucky, will be between 26 and 32. And you would probably absolutely give something like that away for a multiple all pro, especially at a
Right.
position like corner. But I haven't heard anybody say, Colts are Super Bowl contenders after this, and I tend to feel that this gave me a lot of confidence that we could see the Colts make an AFC title run. But
Hmm.
I that's kind of what I felt coming into your beloved Steelers, reminding the Colts that there are no free lunches, there are no easy weekends in the NFL. Man, they said, hey, don't forget about us over here. So I feel like they are better. They're higher up, maybe in that same tier for me right now.
Yeah, the discourse that I've seen, and it's everyone's on one end of the spectrum or the other, and it's basically like the people that are pro trade for the Colts are in a vacuum. Sauce Gardner is worth two first round picks and AD Mitchell, and I think that's completely true. And then the other side is you just don't pay two first round picks unless it's a quarterback or Michael Parsons, like a top five player in the entire NFL kind of deal. And for Sauce, I just went through the standings again. The reason I was drawing a blank earlier is I'm like, on good teams in the AFC, is the most legitimately impactful number one wide receiver DK Metcalf on the Steelers? And like at that point, because you got the Patriots who just like sprinkle to everybody. You've got the Bills who sprinkle to everybody. You've got obviously the Ravens and like Zay Flowers, but they're 3-5. Bengals are 3-6 with those guys I mentioned before. Jacksonville, Travis Hunter, Brian Thomas Jr. We're not super scared of them right now. Denver, you don't care about that passing attack. The Chargers, Keenan Allen, like, and then Kansas City Chiefs. It's sprinkled everywhere. So it's not like going to get Sauce Gardner because it's the Colts are the one seed and the Bengals are the two seed. And you got to lock down Jamar Chase, and you're like, now I feel comfortable about that matchup. So I don't know if this is good. Sauce is good. It's a position of need. I think it's more to the thing you said. If this is the 29th pick in the draft, like let's just look at 2026, they probably swing on a cornerback anyways, right? With that pick, like 50-50 chance. So like, wouldn't you just rather that be Sauce Gardner? Like, yeah. So I
Right.
think this is more about we're solidifying a position that's been hard and it does make our team better. I don't know if it pushes us to a whole nother tier. In terms of that big picture, how much does this mean in terms of the confidence for you in the organization at the top? Because to trade two first, you have to feel really good about like the nucleus and direction. This is like an all-in move because we believe in this core, right? So this means from owner Carly Gordon to GM Chris Ballard, you mentioned, head coach Shane Steichen, quarterback Daniel Jones. You got to feel good about those four horsemen, no pun intended, about what's happening for the Colts kind of right now in this moment. So is that where you feel, or do you feel like these are kind of four individuals all just kind of riding the high of like what's a really good season and maybe they're over their skis, or is this a like no, we feel good about this iteration for at least a couple years. It's okay to take that kind of swing.
Yeah, I think I tend to lean in the camp right now that is excited. And again, that's been a tough thing for Colts fans over the last half decade at least to be excited about the front office decisions. And I would also say to any Colts fans, even if you don't love the move, I think you almost have to be happy with the direction because this has been a fan base that has been begging Chris Ballard and co to make a move like this. Like show us that you're committed to building a winner. And so while you're here, you have this opportunity. So we can't, on one hand, say, I hate that these guys never take big swings. I hate that they never take a risk. And then when they do, say, well, not that risk. I didn't
Right.
want you to do that one. So I tend to be more confident. Ballard, I think, is probably the hardest one for me to say. Oh yeah, I'm a lot of faith, very confident in Chris Ballard. Steichen, I will say, I was really starting to question that move after the last couple of years, but now that we've seen what we've seen, I do tend to think it was just a fit problem that he had to have the right quarterback that he was on the same wavelength with, and now that we're starting to see what some of that looks like, I have a lot more faith in him and what he's calling throughout the game and what they're putting in throughout the week. And yeah, to put, Carly's in a tough spot, to be put in that situation with the untimely passing of her father. And then now here you go, Chief. And I know she's caught a lot of flack for being on the sidelines with the headset so that she can try to learn on the job. And yeah, so I can only really give credit for this move. Like I said, I personally am going to miss AD Mitchell. I wish there was a world where we could have pulled this off and he got to stay and earn his shot at redemption. I think it's a little silly to bench a guy. It's a bonehead mistake that he made against the Rams. You can argue very well that he cost them the game, but there happens to be another Colts player who rocks the number 28 who did the same, he committed the same crime against this organization not that long ago. And I've never heard him in trade talks. Obviously, Jonathan Taylor, AD, it's not the same, but I feel like everyone just locked in on this guy fumbling at the goal line and they don't remember the 74-yard reception that put him in the position to do it. And so there's a ton of talent there with AD Mitchell. So, I mean, that's maybe the only thing that I'm like, ah. Oh, yeah, I guess, I'd been a lot happier with just the two firsts or one first and him or take a flyer on somebody else, man. But no, I am more confident than I have been in a long time with the front office and just the general push. All of this, I think, rides on Daniel Jones. I think that's the big question mark for me. Are you going to get him at a team friendly deal? So they're going to try to shore this up, lock it up right now while we're in season and commit and say this only works because we don't have to pay Daniel Jones
Exactly.
an arm and a leg. But if he ends up walking and getting a contract elsewhere, then I will once again be less confident. So I feel like you only make this move if you are confident about that Daniel Jones future.
Oh yeah.
I don't think they make this move if there's any chance that it's they're going back to the drawing board at QB. So for now, rarely for me in this Colts fan seat, I am cautiously optimistic, Simon.
Um, you hit everything I was hoping you would hit there. That was great. Thank you. And you got to my final question, which on your mini rant in the middle of that, which was where did it go wrong for AD Mitchell? And not just this season, but just holistically, like, we knew when he was coming out, it was like, okay, supremely talented. And then there were rumors about the like work ethic and stuff. And then Ballard makes that impassioned speech about like we hear these rumors about rumors and we make judgments of these kids, and that's a fantastic person. And then just never came together. But and you said fumbles, so like maybe that's just where like a lot of it, like he just went in the doghouse and the fans were done, and because he was in the doghouse, he was expendable to Ballard and Ursay and or can I make this a positive spin about a player you and I both love? And is this just more to do with the positivity for Alec Pierce and the season he is having and the like is there a growing likelihood he's in the last year of his deal? Is this just no? We're bringing this whole core back together. So like you said about Daniel Jones, you don't trade two first round picks if you don't know who your quarterback is going to be next year. So whatever that payment's going to be, they're going to pay it for Jones. But is this also AD was kind of that Alec Pierce insurance when it was like Alec Pierce is the deep guy who has been inconsistent, but now he's going on like two really good seasons after they draft Mitchell. Is this just, hey, Pierce is going to be back, Jones is going to be back, the rest of that core that we mentioned? We've hit on a lot of recent draft picks. I went through and looked at the drafts again, like Warren and Downs and Latu and all the, Raymond and Goncalves and Borderlini, like all. We've had a lot of good drafts, and we're going to keep this group together. So specifically for AD Mitchell, though, is this just, hey, Pierce is going to be back, so he was expendable?
Yeah, I think it could be that. That's a good argument to make. I won't rule out part of the that the doghouse might have been a factor, but to keep it on that positive spin, I'll hone in on another name you mentioned. I think Warren probably has a lot to do with this too,
Yeah.
because that's not a
Mm-hmm.
position. I mean, Colts fans, the tight end room has been an area of
It's tough for a
concern
while.
for a
Mm-hmm.
long time. I think that's why almost every uh, pro analyst, amateur analyst, and fan, it was like Warren at 14 to the Colts. That was like the most locked in pick I had
Yep.
seen,
Mm-hmm.
and all of the draft boards like, well, there's no way. Maybe someone takes him earlier, but he's not getting past Indy, right? If he's sitting there, that's
Yes.
exactly who they're going to take. And I think having that production there on top of Pierce playing well, and also Josh Downs. It's been a bit of a
Yes.
rocky season so far, kind of a slow start, but he seems to have built a rapport with Daniel Jones now too, and has been playing well. So yeah, I could see it being. This is an area where we have strength. There are a lot of other areas. Again, depth was a concern with the defensive backfield. Even though Alec Pierce himself has been banged up a little bit, but they have a little more depth on the offensive side of the ball, and I think this was maybe more of the Jets getting this added into the trade, maybe more than it was the Colts saying, hey, AD Mitchell. I think it
Right.
was more of
Yes.
they're like, hey, 2 draft picks sounds nice. You guys are 7-2. This season's halfway over. So that first round pick, we know we're not looking at a top 15 pick next year. So how about you throw in AD Mitchell? He's not in your starting lineup. He's not getting a lot of snaps. The Jets absolutely have a need there. I don't think we're going to see Garrett Wilson being moved on from anytime soon, but
Mm.
it's paper thin after that. And so
Yep.
Mitchell could be the kind of guy. Didn't they also trade for Mechie? So they're clearly adding a couple people
Yes.
into that
Hmm.
room. I think Mitchell has the upside to potentially be at the very least a solid third receiver for them. He could end up being their number two. So I kind of wonder, Simon, if that wasn't the Jets that was said, hey, you know what? This sounds pretty good. Throw in AD Mitchell and he's yours.
Hmm. All right. All right. I like it. I like it. Ton of fun. Really, really good trade deadline. Again, over on the Simon and Friends podcast, we'll go more in depth and we'll hit all the trades that happened today as well as the last week. So we'll dig into that. So make sure you check that out. But here on Box Score Network, thank you all so much for watching. If this is your first time here, we have reaction stuff going up whenever anything big happens, but it's also going to be draft central for us moving forward. So 2026 NFL draft coverage, you will get from a bevy of different box score hosts. And Kev, give us a quick plug. Tell us what you got going on. I mean, I had to schedule you between, a fancy important dinner that you had going on and multiple shows and all this stuff. So give a quick shout out to what you got going on.
I appreciate it. And it's always well worth it. Happy to move anything around to jump on the show with you, Simon. But yeah, I've been outside of the old football NBA coverage that I used to do for so long because I've been really honed in the combat sports world. So if you want to check out Carnage Media, you can find our website over at carnagemediappv.com or our YouTube channel. So free fights every night. We've got boxing, kickboxing, MMA. We've got amateur MMA, pro MMA. Same thing with boxing. I'm even working on a pro wrestling show, Simon. So I do play-by-play commentary for pro wrestling now, Benchmark Pro Wrestling. So I love all of that. So if you ever want to see me at work, go check out Carnage Media. I'm the lead commentator over there and just having a lot of fun doing it and actually started writing some articles to cover the sport as well. So that's where I'm at these days.
Two things that everybody can agree on. Shane Steichen and Kev Nivek never sleep, and they just get a lot of stuff done at a very high level. So thank you to Kev for being here and giving us the Colts fan reaction. Check out everything he's got going on. Check out everything at Box Score. We will talk to you all soon. Thank you so much, and have a good one. That one.